David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, shot at least 6 young lovers in New York City. Albert DeSalvo raped and strangled more than 10 women in Boston. And with 13 grisly murders in north central England, Peter Sutcliffe became known as the Yorkshire Ripper. Serial killers grip the public's attention and confront our own private dread. They come in all shapes and sizes, from every walk of life. They're often intelligent and resourceful. They are not driven by such conventional motives as revenge, greed, jealousy, profit, so they do not respond to such conventional emotions as guilt or remorse. They are, therefore, very difficult to catch. Since 1960, the murder rate in the United States has almost doubled. Now approximately 55 people are slain each day, and the number of mass, spree, and serial murders, crimes generally committed against total strangers, has increased steadily and alarmingly. Special Agent James Wright supervises the investigative analysis program of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Back in the 1960s, the solution rate for homicide in the United States was over 90%. The solution rate last year was 68%. We're not seeing the type of crime that is committed between 2 people that know each other. We're getting more and more into stranger types of crimes. Those are the most baffling types because we don't have a ready pool of suspects, and very often we don't have a motive for these crimes, not an obvious motive.
Law enforcement officials across the country must confront the reality of these trends and seek ways to grapple with them. At the FBI's National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, all of the traditional weapons arrayed against crime are taught and practiced. But non-traditional crimes require non-traditional methods. And serial killers, those who kill repeatedly, are perhaps the most terrifying challenges of all.
Greg, how you making out, Roger?
In a suite of offices 2 floors below the ground, a small and elite group known as the Investigative Support Unit journeys into the very heart of darkness, into the minds and motivations of serial killers.
Over the weekend, we had several cases came in, several of which are serial murder investigations that have been
The unit's
done.
objective in more than 1,000 cases each year, interpret behavioral clues left at a crime scene to come up with a personality profile of an unknown and elusive offender.
I want to let the front office know that they just came up with another body last week. So they've had 4 killed in the last 2 weeks.
This technique grew out of a pioneering study begun in 1978 of multiple murderers and other violent criminals. Its key contributor was Special Agent John Douglas, now the unit's chief.
If you interview the subjects, what they'll tell you is the thing that was really appealing to them was the hunt. The hunt and trying to look for the vulnerable victim. And once they had that victim, and they had that victim under their control, they feel the strength of the power and to control the life or destiny of this victim. They believe throughout their life they have been manipulated, they have been dominated, they have been controlled by others. They have a very, very poor self-esteem. So here, for this one situation now, that was fueled by fantasy, that they can get a victim, they can be in control, they can orchestrate whatever they want to do to the victim, and they can decide whether or not this victim should live or die, or how the victim should die. It's up to them.
Douglas and his partner, Robert Ressler, went into the prisons and conducted extensive interviews with the most dangerous criminals to find out what made them tick. Out of the study came a system to understand and classify types of killers and other violent offenders. For the first time, the FBI was able to link what was going on in the perpetrator's mind to the evidence he left at a crime scene.
Recently, in Colorado, a 15-year-old girl was deposited off the side of the road. Same signature kind of aspect with the way the body was deposited, the type of ligature strangulation.
There are common denominators which you find with each and every one of these people. They come from generally broken homes. They're the product of some type of abuse. And by the time we begin seeing his first kill, he's somewhere in his early 20s. He has a bad track record. He's been a burglar. He's been maybe involved in rape or rape attempts, and he's been extremely hostile and violent to authority type of figures.
The best predictor of future behavior or future violent acting out is a past history of violence.
The journey into the mind of the violent offender remains an ongoing quest of discovery.
And there are some things that we can use.
What is learned is then taught in the FBI Academy's classrooms. Just as an offender leaves fingerprints or other physical evidence at the scene of a crime, the FBI looks for his personality print as well.
They're suspicious of others, they're paranoid, they're overly sensitive, hypersensitive to criticism.
Investigators are trained to interpret this behavioral evidence to create a profile of the unknown offender. This technique can help police narrow their list of suspects and sometimes suggest active strategies to catch the perpetrator.